everyone, it's Cassie Trask and welcome back for day 3 of Trinity Stamps 12 Days of Christmas. Today we're going to be making an ornament and I want to pull out the Happy Snowman die and show you how you can take some of your dies and you can make your own little paper ornaments with them. So we've got our Happy Snowman die and I'm actually going to use the middle piece for our snowman. We're not going to make a full snowman, we're just going to use his head. So I'm going to cut out 2 of every piece that I need. I'm just running this through my die cutting machine, and in some cases you're going to need to mirror, I suppose, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as the pieces go. We need a couple of eyes, so that means we've got to cut out 4 of these. We also need a scarf. So for this particular piece, because it cuts out the centers, you're actually going to need to cut out 4. You're going to need to cut out 2 of your first color and 2 of a second color. In this case, I'm going to use white because this is, it cuts out an outline and then it cuts out the little pieces for the inside. We also need a couple of hat bands. So I chose to do it with red. We're going to cut those out as well. And then here I am cutting out the inside pieces of the scarf, which is why that piece wasn't entirely on the paper. And then we're going to go ahead, before I get too far ahead and lose pieces, we're going to go ahead and attach our white pieces to one of our scarves. I'm just using a little bit of post-it tape. Some washi tape would work really well too, just to kind of back this and makes it a little easier to attach those pieces. And then you can just cut away any excess that you might have. I'll use some liquid glue in the centers there, and then I'll pull each of my pieces out from the scarf and I'll attach those down just using a jewel picker. Makes it a little easier as well. And this is a piece that you're going to have to mirror. So if you're using patterned paper, what you'd need to do is cut out on the back of that patterned paper, because the way this will line up on your ornament, it overlaps each other, and so you'll have to do a mirror image. And again, we can kind of talk about that a little more as we get close to attaching the pieces. We're going to need 2 noses. We'll also need a couple of mouths, but this mouth has 2 pieces to it. So I'm going to have to cut that out of some dark gray. I'm cutting out 2 top hats out of some dark gray as well. And the upper portion of the mouth will be dark gray and the lower portion will be red. I have some ink on 3 Paint It Black, and I'm just going to sponge some of that onto the hat using my Blender Buddy, along with some of that excess onto the snowman, just on one edge. I'm not going to do it on both parts of the snowman. I'm going to wait until I have a little bit better sense of where that's going to attach, and then I'll be able to do it from there. I've grabbed my my W3 Copic and I'm putting that on the white. I just wanted to add a little bit of depth to that scarf, and then I'll blend that out with some C0 or W0, and then we're going to go ahead and start thinking about how we're going to attach pieces. So I'm looking at that just to see where I want that, and then just at the very top part I'll attach that to our snowman. This will help when I flip it over figuring out where all the pieces will go. I forgot to add a little bit of depth to the mouth, so we're doing that. And then we're going to go ahead and attach those pieces down to our snowman's face. And then he just really starts to come to life, and it brings out his little personality so much. I love this little mouth. There's actually 2 mouths you can choose from in this die set. I did add some little lines on our carrot nose, and then added a little shadowing to the bottom, which is hard to see on video, but you can definitely see it in real life. So I'll stick his little nose down, and then I'm going to add a couple little dots of glue for his eyes, his little coal eyes. We'll pop those down. I'm not going to attach his hat yet. It's sitting there, but it's not attached. I grab a red Copic, and then I'll put a little bit more depth on the red parts of the scarf, and also on the hat band. And then I'll add a little bit of white gel accent to the hat band as well. We're not going to attach that to the hat yet. I have plans. And I'm kind of manipulating to see how that next snow piece is going to fit on that front. And when I have that sort of figured out, we will cut some twine. And then I'm going to attach that down to the back of our snowman using a little bit of washi tape. So I'm just using washi tape because I will use glue later on. Now I need to do that same sort of shadowing on this piece, kind of figuring out where that's going to go. And I should have started with the hat. That bottom portion of our snowman's pretty dark, but that gets covered up by our scarf, so I'm not quite as worried. And then I'll blend that out a little bit better. And then I'll remember to do the mouth. I just love adding shadowing. It just adds so much depth. And then we'll glue down our snowman's face on this side. As you can see, like I said, that bottom portion's kind of dark where I did that blending, but the scarf will cover most of that. And here is where I can take that glue and start attaching down the mirror image of our other scarf. So this is what I was talking about. If you had used some pattern paper, you would have wanted to flip it and cut out on the back side of one of those pattern pieces, just so that way you'd have, it'd be able to overlap each other. Now I'm going to grab out the white pieces from the scarf and just start attaching those pieces down. And then we'll go through that same process with this scarf that we did on the other scarf by using our Copic markers just to add a little bit of depth and dimension, just like we did on the other side. But it's starting to come together, and you can see how we're going to get a cute little ornament. I'll attach down the mouth, and then now I'll do up his nose. And this is one where I had to mirror image it and do it on the top part of this, flip the carrot and do it on the top part there. Because if I had done it the other way, then those lines would have been on the bottom of the nose. Add a little depth to the bottom. And then we'll glue down his nose, and then we'll go ahead and glue down his eyes. I end up losing some of the darkness of the hat here. I'll show you in a second after I get the band ready to go. Doing the same thing except it's mirrored. But I end up deciding that I want these to be shiny, and so I do lose some of that depth that I had blended on there. I am just pushing those hats into some of the Juicy Embossing ink by Ink on 3, and then covering that with some clear embossing powder. I figured this would make it look a little bit more like an actual satin hat. Or are they silk? I'm not 100% sure. Then I'm going to use a paper piercer just to hold down my piece and heat that with my heat gun until that's smooth and melted, but that'll just make sure that it doesn't fly across my desk. But like I said, you do lose some of that depth from the ink blending that I had done earlier. Some of it's still there, but you can't see it quite as much. And now I can start doing the last bits of attaching. So I'll attach down the band to the top hat, and then I'll add the other band, and then we'll add just some glue to the bottom of our first hat that we're going to stick down. And then we'll flip him over and attach the last piece. Make sure that your baker's twine or whatever you're using for your ornament top is kind of twisted the way you need it to be twisted, and then you can attach down the last part of your snowman. I wanted to add a little bit extra to this guy, so I pulled out the Deck the Halls embellishments, put those in my tidy tray, and then I'm just gluing down those pieces using my jewel picker along with some Nuvo Deluxe glue. I put 3 of the holly leaves down and then 3 holly berries. I think it's actually just 2 leaves and 3 berries maybe, but that's okay. And then I'll flip him over once he's dried just a little bit, and I'll do the same thing on the other side. And it's so much fun because now this can twist and turn on your tree, and he'll be the same front and back, and you've got this cute little ornament. So fun. You could write like 2020 on the edge, or maybe you don't want to remember 2020, so don't put the date. But there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this easy ornament tutorial. If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you have not already done so. And as always, I will see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.